Welcome to episode 52 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Stephen Rothberg with College Recruiter. I am in Minneapolis in my office today, and it is about 50 degrees, or supposed to be about 50 degrees today. For our non-American watchers, that's about 10 Celsius. Mother Nature is drunk, and I'm buying the next round. I am joined here by my co-host, Jeanette Leeds of AMS.
Hi, everyone. Jeanette Leeds. I'm at AMS. I am just outside New York City, and it is 35 degrees. So Mother Nature is like, okay, it's December, and this is normal. For those that don't know, I'm the managing director and EVP of AMS, which is an RPO organization that does all sorts of other stuff. This week we were actually talking about how we really enable organizations to scale their recruiting teams, among other things. And I focus on our high volume practice here in the Americas. So happy to be here today with Dustin from Talent Tech Labs, which is an organization that I think many of us have known for years and years. So Dustin, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get into the meat of today.
Sounds great, Jeanette. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Dustin Schrader. I'm a senior analyst over at Talent Tech Labs. We do both research and advisory work, focus pretty heavily on talent acquisition topics, including, of course, high volume hiring, which is what brings me here. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. It's always nice here. It's 70-something outside right now, so it's good as usual. So I guess for winters months. So yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, we'll check back in July and see if you also say that it's nice. Okay, but
exactly, yeah.
Excellent. Well, I know today our topic is, chatbots, high volume recruiting, and the impact there. And I think our official title on episode 52 was, "Will they have an impact?" But clearly, we know already they have. So, Dustin, maybe just high level, you could give us an overview of what you're seeing the impact on chatbots have had in the high volume.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. It's so it of course nowadays goes well beyond that kind of basic pre-programmed decision tree kind of setup that we used to see. And now we're really seeing that AI move into the chatbot space as well, where we're having really robust conversational AI with lots of applications, obviously, for talent acquisition. So they're sitting atop the career site. And then in the process of answering questions for candidates, doing that standard decision tree, we're seeing things like updating the career site in response to the candidates' answers. Things like job matching in a very real-time basis. They can do a full-scale interview scheduling now, which sort of straddles the line between basic and advanced. But yeah, they can also bring in assessments as needed and pretty much handle the entire hiring process up to the interview just all on their own. They do sort of more robust TA functionalities. They're starting to expand more into kind of a CRM-like space where they're doing more candidate engagement. They're pulling candidates from an applicant tracking system from a CRM, and then reaching out to those candidates and kind of starting those conversations as well. They handle data pretty well now. Both inputs and outputs. They are able to comb their internal databases pretty efficiently, pretty effectively, and present data effectively, as well as retain information and process it much better than before. You can set really advanced rules with them, build out workflows on a per job basis, on a per role basis. So. And that's for the internal staff and the external staff. They're starting to delve into internal mobility as well. So doing a really good job of kind of meeting candidates wherever they are. You might see them on social networks, so that chatbot functionality expands into the world of social networks. If candidates find themselves applying through those channels, learning about the jobs through those channels, the chatbot can meet them there. But yeah, just kind of really expanding and using AI to build much better overall experiences for candidates as well as the TA side.
One of the questions that I thought you would be able to really answer well is sort of where does the chatbot for high volume hiring, where does it properly sit in the application flow? Because I hear about some enterprise level employers using, like, say, Paradox as their ATS. And from the little that I know, that's unusual, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Like, what are your thoughts on the chatbot being in addition to the ATS versus instead of the ATS?
Yeah, I think it depends on the scale of the organization, really. And we've had clients at TTL tell us before that, we'd like to use a Paradox-like tool, a Paradox or a Sense, as sort of a lightweight CRM or a lightweight ATS. And of course, Paradox has that functionality. Now it continues to expand there. And I think it's really just a matter of do you want to build out your tech stack as robustly as possible? Are you a really big enterprise, scale organization where you have a standalone CRM, you have a standalone ATS, you have basically a standalone interview scheduling tool, all that kind of stuff? Now we're seeing it for more nimble organizations. The chatbot can take on so many different functionalities now that, if you're an organization that kind of keeps everything within a single ecosystem within one house, you can use the chatbot to do so. It provides that kind of, lightweight candidate engagement capabilities. It can really house all of that candidate data and serve as sort of a very lightweight ATS. For a big organization, you might not want to lean on that necessarily as your sole system. But we have had conversations with clients where they think, this might work best for me. I don't need to build out, a pretty complicated tech stack. I don't necessarily have a big TA team that, is going to have to learn a ton of different technologies just in order to use them effectively, even if the integrations are in place. Let's just keep it as much as possible in one single tool that can automate a lot of these processes and really just saves my TA team, my recruiters, for other more important tasks, can automate a lot of these processes. So yeah, I really think scale is the key determining factor as to whether you would take that on with the chatbot or not.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Dustin, because I've seen that with a lot of AMS customers as well. Depending on the size and scale of the organization, that has an impact on the type of tech stack and how many tools someone wants to have in the organization. It's really about that complexity versus it just sort of plugging in a certain way. And you said almost the 4-letter word, integrations, which is always good but bad. It's always super easy.
Jeanette, you clearly flunked like second grade math if you think integrations is 4 letters, but okay.
I know, exactly. So it was interesting. You said something earlier around social and where it's using chatbots. So I've got to go back a number of years ago, and there was always a view, whether this was around high volume or professional or different types of recruiting, of candidates don't want to really engage from a social standpoint around job search. Like, that's social, let me have fun there, and then keep on other areas. Obviously that's changed for sure as like life has merged. I would just be curious if you could talk a little bit more around, again, because of high volume and hourly and this population, the recruiting is different. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the use of the chatbots on social, if this is like, hey, this is really the best, not the best way, because there's never one best way, but thoughts on that. I think it could be interesting for our viewers.
Yeah, Jeanette, I wouldn't necessarily say it would be like the future is everybody's going to apply via Facebook or whatever it is, but I do think it is, for certain roles, particularly for fairly high turnover roles, it can be a really effective way to get candidates, just because it avoids that difficulty of trying to get a candidate pool that is willing for any kind of, let's say, hourly role to jump over to the career site or to apply via text. And you get the text and you have to go to the career site to finish the application and things like that. It's like, let's just keep this thing right within Facebook. You're already advertising on Facebook. You're targeting your advertising on the social network platform, and then you can just move straight over to the messenger and handle it right there just via the chatbot. And really there's very little add-on that needs to be done. So I think it's a really effective way just to kind of expand that candidate pool. But I would say it's best really for a very specific set of roles. If you're looking for more professional oriented high volume, I would say it's probably not your best bet. You're probably not going to see as much success where, the standalone career site is probably a matter of familiarity and comfort for people just applying through that career site. But I think for certain roles, it can be a pretty effective mechanism.
It's super interesting. I can totally envision that. And before we went live, when we were in the green room, we were talking about how, like, I've never applied to a job through a chatbot. I've never been on the employer side. But when you talk about the Facebook Messenger application, living in Minneapolis, basically the only airline here is Delta, and they've built their chatbot on top of Messenger. If I have an issue with a flight, I know I can jump on the Messenger and boom, I'm going to get a hold of somebody. The response is going to be good, and I can go through the whole process without having to call an 800 number and waiting on hold. And the agent can probably handle 5 inquiries at once if it's an actual person. And a lot of it, I'm sure, is fully automated. So for those who have maybe had the same experience as me, I can totally see what location are you looking for? What kind of role are you looking for? And going back and forth with automation. You mentioned a second ago, Dustin, I think maybe we have time for one more quick question. I'm sorry.
Got it.
Sorry for chewing up the time here. You mentioned the word future. And I really want to get your thoughts on that. Days ago, Amazon announced that they're releasing what they call Q, kind of their answer to ChatGPT. And I've seen some discussions of why use a TA chatbot when instead you can use a GPT, whether it's Q or something from OpenAI or something from some other organization. Is there, do you see 3, 4, 5 years from now, the paradoxes of the world winning, go hire some of the other ones, or do you envision more the OpenAI, the ChatGPTs winning this?
It's a good question. I might say, to some degree, I think the generative AI is already starting to win in some respects, in that it's finding itself involved in talent acquisition, chatbots. I think we're seeing, at TTL, we're seeing some vendors start to integrate, ChatGPT pretty seamlessly into their overall chat experience. And in a lot of cases, that's to support the TA function, but by the same token, that can be, applied directly into the chatbot itself to work with candidates. And so I really think that it's going to be less one or the other, and it's going to be, let's just bring in the generative AI directly, and that will support, the back end for our chatbots themselves. And really, I see them both kind of growing together as opposed to necessarily one or the other.
Yeah, I actually agree. I mean, based on what I'm seeing, absolutely. It's almost emerging in many ways where these tech companies are going to take and have already started to incorporate it in to their technology. So it takes advantage of, this next generation real, Gen AI, and just, it's going to be crazy. The next 12, 18 months, I think what we're going to end up seeing is pretty incredible.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you guys say is we're going to have the advantages of the tech from the OpenAIs of the world, and then we're going to have the TA expertise from the paradoxes of the world.
We're going to have our cake and eat it too.
Oh, nice. And you have to say that during the holiday season when we all have too much cake.
Exactly.
Well, Dustin, this has been awesome. Thank you very much. For those who want to reach out to you to learn more about you, Talent Tech Labs, your LinkedIn URL is right there. That's probably the best place for people to reach you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Totally. Thanks, everybody. Great to be here.